Amazing. Welcome everyone to what will be, I hope, a fantastic talk on is the internet safe for black people, with two incredible individuals who are doing so much work in the space and are hopefully going to bring us a really enlightening conversation from two amazing organisations, Glitch and Bumble. So before we kick off, it will probably be a good idea for them to introduce themselves and for you to get to know them before we dive deep on the discussion. So Nima, can I start with you? If you can tell us who you are, what you do, and maybe something that you love about what you do.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate you joining us for a very early morning, at least for me, working for a tech firm. Nima Elmi, I used to be a lawyer and then transitioned into public policy through work in government in the UK and in Africa, and most recently through the World Economic Forum before joining Bumble. And what I love about the work that I do is, honestly, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do it. To do work that's focused about making the internet safer for women is something that I am passionate about anyway. So hopefully my employers won't be listening too loud to that piece, but it's a very diverse range of work that we do, and I'm excited to kind of share a little bit more about that and some of the work that we've been doing this recently.
Hi everybody, my name is Seyi Akiwowo. I am the founder and CEO of an organisation called Glitch, and it's all about ending online abuse and making our platforms and tech work for all of us. Glitch was birthed out of my lived experience of online abuse when I was an elected politician a few years ago. A speech that I made went viral. It was great. Black tech joy, black Twitter joy. It was fantastic. And then some idiot put it on a neo-Nazi forum, and I was on the receiving end of horrific trolling and abuse and death threats. And I know that my experience is one of many, many, many experiences that women face online. But what was really frustrating was the lack of language and understanding of what it's like to be a black woman online. And so Glitch has been going for coming up to 8 years now as a campaign and as a charity. We do work around systemic change, so making tech work for everybody. We had a recent win with the Online Safety Bill, which is a proposed regulatory bill on tech companies. And believe it or not, there were 262 pages in this document proposing to regulate big tech, and it didn't mention women once. There were 262 pages and women and girls were mentioned 0 times. And I'm really proud that we worked in partnership, including with Bumble and including with End Violence Against Women Coalition and 100,000 petitioners to make the amendment to the Online Safety Bill to include women and girls. And that's what I'm passionate about. I'm a lover of tech. I grew up on MSN, single mum, so MSN raised me. And I don't think that we are having the same experiences of online community, of discovery, of joy, of pleasure on tech platforms that like we could, and that black women particularly at the brunt of this. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation around how can we really make the internet safe for black women and black people in general.
Great. Thank you for those introductions, and absolutely inspiring what you're doing, and again, digging into those stories a bit further in this conversation. So you've lightly touched upon it, Shay, so far, about the kind of increasing discussions with online safety and the kind of breadths of harm that can happen when things are posted, when things are shared, especially when things are out of your control on the internet. So my first question is, what are the emerging online harms that you've both experienced, that you're tracking, that you're seeing, and what is the impact of those? So Shay, can I start with you?
Sure. I think it's really important for us to define what online abuse is. And guys, if I can be really honest with you guys this morning, I feel like I'm in a safe space. I'm with my people then. I am really concerned that online abuse is going to be weaponized by the right to suppress freedom of expression and speech. So I think when we're talking about online harms and abuse that we are experiencing, I think it's really important we're on the same page by what we mean. Last year I published a book called How to Stay Safe Online with Penguin, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to defining online abuse, its type, its rhetoric, its experience. And to sum up, I think online abuse is about the intentional harm experienced on tech or by tech to hinder our human rights. And that can look like doxing, so the sharing of personal information online. That can look like, and what's scary, and I think what Bumble's having to grapple with right now, is deep fakes. And we saw that this week with the shadow government, the Labour Party at Labour Party conference. Deep fake audio of Keir Starmer apparently being very abusive to his staff went viral, and it was untrue. And these are the forms of online abuse and online harms. And why I say I'm really concerned about how definition of online abuse is being, I guess, manipulated is that we're coming up to an election at some point next year, and we know that violence against women in politics, we know that violence against black communities during elections, we are constantly scapegoated, we're constantly having outrage algorithms be pitted against our communities and dividing us. I'm worried that that's the trend that we're going to see. And to end, I want to highlight a term that has become new in my language, in my lexicon, is digital misogynoir. And that's the idea of misogyny and racism mixed together but happening on digital spaces. And in July, Glitch launched a report called Digital Misogynoir and the dehumanizing language that exists on social media platforms. We reviewed 5 of the biggest text-based platforms and scraped 1 million posts, and 20% of those posts were highly toxic against women and black women. And this was content that was violating tech platforms' community guidelines and was still staying on the platform. And digital misogynoir, like offline misogynoir, we know is about controlling images, stereotypes to keep oppressing black women and keep dividing our communities. And when we see the things of when we see fat phobia, when we are silencing black women online, like Kelechi, like Dr. Shola, when we see the over scrutiny of decisions and that black women make, all of this is controlling images and stereotypes that, be honest, I thought we had dealt with offline, but is repeating online, and tech is amplifying this, and that's a huge concern for me.
That is some powerful remarks from Seyi, and I want to give you some stats. So 27. Women are 27 times more likely to experience online harassment than men. So every gentleman in the audience, imagine for every instance of abuse you're experiencing, 27 of your neighbors go through the same thing. 52% of women have experienced online harassment, whether that is sexual harassment, that is aggressive messaging, and so 27 times more likely. That's a stat from EU Women Lobby. 52%, that's a stat from the World Web Foundation. In our own research at Bumble, we found that 48% of women that we surveyed had experienced cyber flashing. And that is unsolicited dick pics received on airdrop, whether you're on the tube or in a meeting. A quarter of women we surveyed had experienced revenge porn. 1 in 4. The reason why I'm sharing these stats is just to contextualize. We talk about online harms, online harassment, but really, as a female-founded, female-led organization, we know firsthand just how prevalent this is. Our CEO, Whitney Wolf-Hurd, has experienced online harms directly, whether that is cyber flashing, abuse, toxicity. And for us, really, it is the concern that this behavior has been unchecked for so long that it's just become the norm. Children, girls as young as 12, 13, are reportedly experiencing cyber flashing on a regular basis in school. And so the work that we've been doing with Glitch, with Evil, with UN Women and other partners has been to identify where there are behaviors that are already illegal offline, in real life. If you flash someone in real life, you will be arrested. That same energy needs to be translated, and those same laws needs to be translated to behavior online. That anonymity behind a laptop is not something that we consider should be acceptable, particularly because women are almost always the ones that suffer the first and the most. The other thing to flag is just the nature of nefarious innovation. There are tools that are being developed that have no other purpose but to perpetuate harm against women. An example is AI nudification tools. Shay touched on deepfakes. What do we actually mean by that? We mean there are AI tools that can be downloaded online that will take an image of a woman that you've also downloaded online. She's fully clothed, it could be me, it could be you, and go through this software program and generate a deep fake of her in a nudified form. You put the same image of a man in that software program and you get an error. You get a man with some boobs and some private parts that don't belong to him. Or some of them won't read the male image. What purpose is that tool for, other than just to perpetuate harm against women? And so the work that we do, because we are unique in the space that there aren't many female-founded, female-led tech platforms, is taking on the baton of making the internet a safer space for women, not just on our platform, but really advocating for changes in law proactively. So a lot of my peers in the tech industry look confused whenever I talk and I'm asking for more legislation. We worked to strengthen the online safety bill. We actively asked for cyber flashing and other forms of online harms against women to be criminalized, to be penalized, to have accountability, because fundamentally we are at an inflection point where the behavior of our experiences online has been unchecked for so long that it is becoming a very toxic place to be, and a lot of the younger generations are experiencing that from a very early stage. So for me, emerging harms, to your question, Catherine, AI nudification. When we're getting excited about talking AI, what are the guardrails? How do we be responsible innovators, both as a tech platform, but also as civil society, as governments, as academia, to make sure we're working together to putting in place the guardrails that are needed so that we can all enjoy that online space feeling safer, not just on our product, but across the board, and particularly so for women who, more often than not, experience the harm the greatest and has the most lasting impact.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. May I add to everything that Nima has laid out? The stat of women are 27 times more likely to be abused online came from the UN originally, that European Women's Lobby put into this resource, and that was 10 years ago. I'm sure if we was to do that stat again now, Nima, right? If we was to do it again now, it would be double that. It's worse. And we know that it's worse for black women. And that's why when we're thinking about guardrails, when we're thinking about what's the parameters, when we're thinking about the rules, we need to understand it through an intersectional lens. Because if we do not make tech and those rules work for the most minoritized, we're going to keep chasing our tails. We're going to keep doing whack-a-mole. And I don't know about you, but the Nigerian in me hates repeating myself. So let's get it right once, and let's do it properly. If we have these guard rules around deepfakes, for example, only centering white blonde women and their experiences, we're missing digital misogynoir. We're missing that the nudification that would happen for a black woman would be animalistic. It would be the stereotypes of fetishization, exoticizations. It would be a lot different, a lot harder, and actually a hate crime, in my opinion. And that's what gets missed when we only focus on tech for good from a gendered lens, and why I really advocate when we're thinking about safer spaces on the internet, an intersectional lens. The work of Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw and our elders in the States have really set a good foundation and a parameter that we can apply to tech. And I want to just urge anyone that's in tech companies or is here thinking this is an exciting career opportunity, that you have the knowledge now to go in and make sure that you're chipping away at capitalism, you're chipping away at productivity and profit ideology over people. Because when that happens, which we've experienced last year with Andrew Tate, when that happens, what we've seen with the rise of misinformation around abortion control, we've seen the impact of it. So I really just want to empower you guys with the knowledge now that you can spark a different conversation when there's product development. You can spark a different conversation around public policy. Who are we centering in these conversations? And I say that and I will end. As somebody who has sat on Twitter's Trust and Safety Council before Elon Musk sacked us, and who currently sits on TikTok's Trust and Safety Council, that I'm constantly in those rooms saying, why are we centering Donald Trump's freedom of expression? Why are we centering Piers Morgan? Why are these the personas that you are having public policy conversations on? Why are you not centering it on people like me, people like Diane Abbott, people like Meghan Markle? I could name so many more. Excuse me. I could name so many more black women that we should be centering to make sure that tech is really safe.
Can we just take a moment there to just digest this information that has come from both of you? Because, I mean, I can speak for myself, or possibly for many people in the audience, that this is a lot of facts I've never heard before. And it's quite frankly horrifying, the situation that we're looking at and the lack of diversity that is in these conversations. And like you say, beyond diversity, intersectional diversity as well. Like you were saying, black women are being affected here and they're not getting a voice. And so I think where we're moving on with this is around education, right? We're here today speaking about this, educating everybody here who's taken the time to listen to us. But who should be responsible for this education? Who should be putting this front and centre and saying, this is not good enough and this is what we need to do to make it better? And Shay, I'm going to actually start with you.
For those that don't know, I also call myself a recovering politician. So it's with that I'm not going to answer your question directly, but I will answer it. I think there are three main groups of people that can play a part in the education of tech and how to use it safely. I think it primarily starts with tech companies. I think we need to end the narrative of unintended consequences. Like that's not a good excuse anymore. We've seen the work that Bumble does when they center consent and they center online safety. We've seen that with TikTok when they center joy and they center children's safety, that it has a different output and a different priority list for what the company puts its resources to. I think tech platforms have an opportunity to really innovate their community guidelines, really innovate their kind of well-being, digital well-being. Sometimes different platforms look at different things, but that bit of your settings page where you can control how you want to use the platform. There are ways that you can use friction and nudges. So you might have seen this on Twitter, that you can't just now retweet something. They will nudge you to say, have you read this article? It's things like that tech companies, we can and have been in the last 8 years, holding them to digital citizenship principles about saying, help your users understand that they have a right to be on this platform. We have a right to have fun and watch Big Brother while all talking on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, but we have a responsibility. So what's our responsibility when we're talking about what's happening on Love Island? How are we making sure that we're not being abusive? Platforms have a real opportunity to educate around healthy conversations and also use algorithms to promote that. What we constantly keep seeing and what we constantly keep believing, but it's not true, that outrage is the only way to automate your algorithms. Outrage is the only way to make profit. And we know that's not true. Because have you seen Black Joy on Twitter? Have you seen when someone is slaying? Simone Biles does her thing. Serena Will does her thing. My God, we are all there. You don't need outrage to get us. You need outrage to hurt us, though. The second group of people that I think play an important part is government, right? I would love to see a public health education campaign around online abuse, because this is costing us. If we have an election in the next 6 months, and if we have Dominic Cummings coming back to lead the Conservative Party, our democracy and integrity to our elections are massively under attack. And so the government has a responsibility to make sure that we as citizens have media literacy. We can detect what's fake news. We can try and detect what's deep fake. That is a little bit harder, but we can get into the practice of fact checking before we share things, because I don't want the next generation thinking that we're like our aunties that just send chainmail on WhatsApp and say, you need to do these things, because otherwise, like, who got those messages that if you don't put an onion by your door, like, you're going to get COVID? Like, we need to make sure we're not that generation where Jen said, take the piss out of us anymore for not being literate enough, right? And then the last group of people is us. We have a part to play when we're going to be online to educate ourselves about how the platform works. We have an ability as a movement right now to be consumers, to decide where are we choosing. I was really disappointed when Clubhouse, for example, became a real popular thing, and at the same time we were criticizing Twitter, but we all flooded to Clubhouse, who had less trust and safety guidelines, less community guidelines, less resourcing in their trust and safety team, if any, no accountability. We as consumers need to start thinking about, what do I need to sense check before I sign up to this platform? Because you guys do it when we do Uber Eats. You won't order just from any Chinese shop. You check that rating to make sure that it's at least a 3. How do we start having those ratings for ourselves? And I believe that there is power in us finding ways to educate and keep on top of this, because I know it's really hard. We've got a lot going for ourselves right now. Cost of living, patriarchy, adulting is really hard. And then now you're hearing this random beautiful black girl telling you that you now need to now be on it with tech. I get that there's a lot on our plates right now, but there are innovative ways when the first 2 stakeholders make it easy for us to digest this information. And then that allows us to really shape these platforms to make sure that joy is centered. Because I don't know about you, I'm sick of talking about being free from violence. I want to run to joy. I want to run to joyous platforms rather than just thinking, can I not get death threats today?
What do you want to add to that?
I don't think there's much to add to that. I think Shay kind of highlighted that eloquently, and I agree with her. I think tech platforms definitely have an important role. So do parents and families. I think we should, in just the way that when we were growing up, we were told not to speak to strangers. We should think about the advice that we're giving, children from an early age about how to be responsible online, how to be safe online. Schools have a role, universities have a role. I think it has to be a concerted effort across multiple stakeholders from a very early stage to really think about those guardrails. It is certainly on platforms, right? If you're a mission-driven platform, your goal is beyond just being competitive and profitable. I think to your point about going towards joy, we're really focused as a business around being kind to each other, creating kind connections. And so our standards are higher, right? We have very strong community guidelines because ultimately you don't have to be part of the club, right? But if you want to join our community, you have to adhere to certain things, right? And so that already is teaching people how to treat you. And I think sometimes there isn't enough of that online, and it's certainly something we advocate for and something that we encourage. And we have seen, Whitney built the business based on being a kinder, more focused platform on female safety, female empowerment. And it has shown time and time again to be a successful business model.
Hello. I just want to big up that Bumble is making a choice to go against the trend right now. When Elon Musk took over Twitter X, there was a race to the bottom. There was now no need to do trust and safety, and that's a shame because we had worked with Twitter, and I can't believe Elon Musk is making me miss Jack Dorsey, but we had worked with Twitter on a hateful conduct policy, on reporting, on community guidelines, and within 24 hours all of that went. That's a whole nother conversation around how you regulate around the monopolizing of tech. But now Facebook has followed, Instagram obviously has followed, and Meta and all of that has followed, and Bumble and TikTok and the like have said we don't need to do the minimum. We can have a higher standard if you want to be on the platform. And long may it continue. If we all in tech can keep choosing the highest standard, then settling.
I think the core of it for us is identify what your values are, those values of joy and kindness, and then going, okay, those that I'm interacting with, if they're not putting that first, then they don't get the business, right? Absolutely.
100%. Just to be clear, I think this is a choice, right? And it is a choice that makes business sense. Ultimately, for us, we have seen that saying to people, look, we don't accept body shaming. If that happens and we find out about it, then you will go through our moderation processes. If your first conversation starts with sexual innuendo, anything that's, fetishization, etc., again, you'll go through our moderation processes. If you meet somebody on our platform and then you go and have a sidebar conversation that is inappropriate in a chat forum, again, that is the type of offline behavior that we have a policy for. So ultimately, it really does come down to, this is a collective effort to make the internet safer, but we are showing that we practice what we preach, right? And ultimately, my job, again, to do this at the start is very much something that I'm like, but hold on, why is everybody not doing this? Why is big tech not doing this? And it is about making sure, as consumers as well, as users of these services, that we are asking for these standards. We are saying this is the minimum you should be doing to ensure that you are moderating your platforms in a responsible way.
Are wanting to know more about how they can challenge tech companies. We call it tech accountability at Glitch under the concept of digital citizens. And I mentioned it earlier, and it's the idea that we have rights and responsibilities online. And what's our individual rights and responsibilities? And we actually call that digital self-care. And so we've got free workshops, free training, free resources on our website that allow you to go into an introspection and ask yourself, what are the boundaries and what are the values and where do I want to be online and how do I want to be and how do I want people to act to me. And so there's guidance around how to set up a page policy, there's guidance around how to use the platform settings so it can work for you. I'm talking to the majority of black people in the room. When George Floyd's happened, when that horrific incident of the young black girl at 15 years old was stabbed in South London, I muted keywords, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to dysregulate my emotions, because I'm a leader in this space and it's important that I sustain myself, in the words of Audre Lorde, right? So it's about understanding how you can use platforms for you, the platform for you, then it take from you in a really broad way. And so I encourage you to have a look at Glitch's website and be part of our community and be part of the partnerships and collaborations that are out there. Like, as Nima and I have said, this is a choice, and there are people out there that are wanting tech to grow and innovation and safety by design. But we're there. But we need more of you guys to join us than join the rhetoric of let's just break things and let's just do product development at the expense of people, and especially black women, because we can't go through the offline history online where the UK, the US, Canary Wharf, you name it, has been built on the backs of black people, on the backs of dehumanizing black people. We cannot have tech go through the same thing, being built by dehumanizing black women.
Very powerful words to end on. And I'm aware we're out of time, very sad. However, what I'm keen to do is just go to both of you very quickly, one line, remind us who you are, what you do, and how can people connect with you in your organisations if they want to find out more, join the movement, help make the choices that they need to make.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We can talk about this all day. I think that 30 minutes is just the tip of the iceberg. It's a teaser. Nima Elmi, Bumble, download the app. We have Bumble for Friends, which is an independent app for those who are in committed relationships but want to find friends and exciting things. So more than happy for you to stay in touch. We have a resource center online as well that does provide all of our community guidelines, and also just how to, education about how to date safely, how to stay safe when you're on online and offline meeting people. And that's really, really important. And ultimately, I want to leave as a positive. We also have a very great podcast around My Love is Black Love. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, if you've downloaded it. It's such a joy to do. That the team put it together, and it's really looking at representation. It is looking at safe spaces for black people to date. It's looking at what modern love looks like, and it's a nice experience to leave on for sure.
So, if, Nima, when I download Bumble, will you please send me a voice note to explain to my boyfriend that I'm not cheating on him, please? I'm just looking for more friends.
BFF, it's out there.
My name is Seyi Akiwowo. I'm the founder and CEO of Glitch, and it's been an awesome, honestly, heartwarming to be here, and props to Black Tech Fest for us having a narrative and conversation about tech. If you want to know more about me, I'm on all the social medias, and Glitch is also on all the social media, and there's free resources and training out there, and I hope I can catch some of you guys afterwards.
Also, just flag up your book as well. Don't forget the book.
Thanks.
Order it, check it out.
Thanks. Thank you.
And I'm Catherine. I've been your host from Colour in Tech. Can we get a round of applause for our wonderful host?
Panelists.